But let's take a look at Liverpool's results at this point this season compared to the same stage last season. And we know just how impressive they were. But this, I think, Righty, really highlights, doesn't it, the difference in the team. And maybe it's a difference in the league in general as well. Do you think other teams catching them up as well?
I think I have to still say that the injuries have cost Liverpool and their fluidity, without a shadow of a doubt. Because we're talking about if if they do miss a forward, but they've got their full quota of defensive players, then you feel like we know that we're solid at the back.
Because they're still scoring. Look at that, 42 goals last season, 37. It's only 5 difference, but there is a bit of a bigger difference there in terms of the goals conceded.
That's what it is. You see, so like I said, with the forwards missing, like if the forwards were missing, they're not scoring, you know you're not conceding, so you're not going to be losing the game. So you don't lose that confidence knowing that, oh no, we ain't scored, so we're not going to win. We know that, because like when we played with Arsenal, we knew that if we scored, there's a very good chance we'd probably win that game because we're so confident in our back five. And I think that Liverpool were the same. So it doesn't make too much of a difference if the front man's not there. And we saw with Jota coming in, he kind of like was an able deputy, and this is why I worry for him, because of Minamino at the moment. I saw Shaqiri come on, it didn't quite make a difference, but in the back, if you can keep the back solid and then they can maybe nick something at the front, they could still win games. But now we're seeing that there is a little bit of a weakness with Liverpool in who's playing, where they're playing, and the fluidity's gone because Fabinho's back in there, Henderson was back in there. Although I thought it's because he wanted them to continue to play out from the back, to try and still do what they normally do to win games, but it's just a different personnel and lack of form.
In particular, they've struggled on the road as well, as we can see from looking at this graphic here, Chris. Just 2 wins away from Anfield this season, 2 defeats, admittedly, but look at all of those draws, and against teams like the likes of Fulham and Brighton, teams that they would have expected to win their games that they would have won last season.
Yes, it's very unlike Liverpool. Away from home, they've been very good last season, so it's surprising, but we were expecting that also because of what is missing at the back, and that's where you see the difference, getting a draw and a win. Those little details that make a draw a win, and at the moment they don't have that.
No, it doesn't.
They're not defending horribly, actually.
No.
I mean, what was the difference? 21 goals conceded this season, 14 last year. I know you can't just say take the game out, but that's just the Villa game. Take the 7 out of that.
Yes.
Since Van Dijk's got injured, the defensive performance hasn't been horrible. I just think it's more about the balance, and it's what you lose, and they're just not quite playing the same way. Like you say, those small margins, all of a sudden it's 1-1 or it's 0-0 because you're not scoring the goals. And it's just little things like that. And that's why they are still top.
And you know how difficult is it to keep the same level of expectation when you have a Van Dijk and a Matip, a pair like that playing together, and one gets injured. Normally you have a third one who can come in and it's not too bad. But to replace both of them, that's a very difficult thing to do.
It's tough for Liverpool to still be top of the league. Remember they lost the keeper for a while as well. You know, for them to not be at the top of the league, it's still an unbelievable achievement they're doing right now. But what they're going to have to call upon now is their experience, simply because when you are the champions like they have been, and when you have dominated like they have been, you have to find that. You have to find that attitude and that's intensity again, because you still have to be Liverpool, still have to be difficult to beat. And you have to say that once the forwards start nicking something again, it will then give confidence back to the rest of the team.
Well, they are top of the league, but as I said at the top of the show, just how long for? Because Manchester United really breathing down their necks now, could be above them by the time they face off on the 17th. How much are you looking forward to that game, Righty?
Well, I think it's great obviously Man United fans around the world will be absolutely delighted, because the problem with Manchester United for a while was inconsistency in what they were doing. You didn't know what Man United were going to turn up simply because of the way they play. You know, Man United will play, they'll defend deep, they'll hit people on the break, and if it's not going great, they've got brilliant players to bring off the bench. Now, what's happened is that something's happened with the mentality, because they do seem a lot stronger in respect to their intensity and the form of the players. They're just playing a lot better, and the players that are coming off their bench are making a difference. So what is going to be interesting to see from Man United is that if they do, and I do feel that they may beat Burnley, if they do go top, is how they keep the consistency to stay there with teams like Liverpool and Manchester City and the Tottenhams and all the teams that's chasing them, for them to continue to get those results. That's the only thing with Manchester United now. They're going to really have to go into the annals of their history to make sure that they tap into that staying there and sustaining and consistency.
You talked there about consistency. You mentioned that word quite a few times. That's certainly something Manchester United have showed with their recent form. These are their last 10 Premier League results. No defeats, unbeaten, just 2 draws. Be honest, Sam, did you see this run of form coming for United, particularly maybe if we go back to that Spurs defeat earlier in the season?
No, and it's United are one of the hardest teams to kind of nail down. And the coverage is so... There's always a problem with United. So you always get mad stats. So it was something like Solskjaer had got the best away record of like any United manager ever earlier in the season, but the home record wasn't there. And then things were going all right, and then went out of the Champions League. You know, they won the Champions League game 5-0 at home against Leipzig, ended up going out on the group stage. Looks like a disaster again. All of a sudden, I mean, obviously we know where they are in the table, but I was shocked seeing that run of results there. I wasn't expecting that. No, like you say, the Spurs game. But this season, it's just like snakes and ladders. Like, I'll be on next month, and we don't know where. City
You've been doing too much at home with your little boy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's just, you never know what's going to happen. Like, we'll talk about Arsenal, Chelsea later on, but you know, going into that game, all of a sudden the fortunes have changed completely. Something's clicked for United, and for the life of me, I can't tell you what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. They've got good players. They've got a solid base, but there's no disaster now. There's no Champions League exit that's undermined them. There's no, the home form's this, the home form's that. Everything has come together, but as Wrighty said, is consistency. But the thing about this Burnley game is, that'll be the test for me. Because over the years, you know, last 5 years, whenever United have had the opportunity to go and do something, they were expected to do something. I remember a few years ago when they had Ibrahimovic up front, they needed to beat Bournemouth to get into the top 4, and they drew at home with Bournemouth. When they beat City a couple of years ago, they had West Brom at home. They lost to West Brom to give City the lead. When they played Villa last week, I thought, they're not going to win this. And they did. And now they've got Burnley, and it's like, okay, if they can get through that and they can go into that Liverpool game top, then we might be, okay, something's happening at United. But it just, this season of all things, I don't know what's going to happen. And United of all teams as well, like, you just don't know what's around the corner.
You could even say that about a missed opportunity with last night with the League Cup.
Well, again, that's always the thing, isn't it, I suppose?
Semi-final for Solskjaer.
Because they're doing so well, but then it's, they always reach the semi-finals but no further. You're never quite sure how good or how bad this United team are. It's always somewhere in the middle. But this season, with everything being so unpredictable, it might be enough.
It could be.
Also, do we have to say this has been a good season for United? Because you've talked there about it being up and down, and it does feel like there's been quite a lot of negative press around Solskjaer and some of the runs prior to those 10 games that he kind of went on, some of the results that were in there, the Spurs one that I mentioned before. But surely when we look at the league table and we look at those recent fixtures, we have to say it's a good season, do we?
It's again, it's so
no
difficult
one wants to answer
about
this. This is the question that no one wants to answer.
It's a puzzling team. You look at it and you try to put the piece together and you're not sure. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, we were thinking Solskjaer was in trouble. When after the exit of the Champions League, and suddenly we turn our head and they're top of the league. And just by showing your graphic, they look like champions. Yeah. You look at the graphics, that's a graphic of a champion.
And they weren't bad draws either against City and
just needs to be over a longer spell, though,
they look like a
that's
champion,
what you said
but
before.
As any of us have the confidence to say, like, yes, they believe
Why?
in it.
Why are you all sitting there without this confidence? Because I even see Wrighty, you're not sure either.
It's only because this scenario here, Man United back in the day, it's when they click into able to win a game to go top, you're almost thinking, that's it now. Man United have done it. They've got where they want to be. They know how to finish this off. But when you look at the consistency in those results, you can't knock it and say, well, it's luck here or there and there. They've played well to do that. But in hardly any of those games going in, you could say, yeah, Man United are going to win this, no problem. They're going to do. What we're seeing from Man United is a team of brilliant players who realise, for me, that yes, we've got a chance of doing this. We can do this. And a manager that you've got to give him some credit in respect of the man management and the way he's managed the team, and Pogba's coming back into the team with all the stuff what happened with his agent. Fernandes obviously is the leader in there. You can see that, and Pogba playing his part in it. And for me, like Sam, I'll go with Sam. I'm going to say if Man United can now win that game against Burnley and show consistency once they get to the top, then yeah, you have to say that Man United have got a great chance of winning the league.
I would say that
nobody's sure.
I would want,
I
want a clearer idea of what Man United game is. At the minute, what I know is that they have firepower and a great squad. But I'm a little bit struggling in possession with the ball to have an idea of what they're trying really to do. I understand that they have the quality to it team on the counter, but in possession, against, like you say, the Burnley example, it would be a perfect example, and see what they do against a Burnley of a team.
It's going to be low block.
Low block. What is your strategy now? And I had difficulty to see that in the past.
And that's where Man United, when they counter-attack teams, fantastic. But their problem is when a team does put in that low block. Like what we'll speak about City, and what City have done now, what Pep has said is that we're going to just continue to pass till the opening comes, and then we're going to try and exploit. But Man United's problem has been to try and break down that low block. If they can do that, then yes, Man United can win the league.
What about Solskjaer, Sam, for you? Because it feels like, from what Chris has just said there about a lack of identity, is Solskjaer the reason that maybe we're struggling to say that they are serious title contenders?
Yeah, I mean, the other side of it is we know that City and Liverpool can go on the run and they can do it because we've seen that, and it's been so long since United have. So that's why we don't want to take that leap into the unknown, because, and also United, you know, we've all had our fingers burnt with that before, false dawns and this kind of thing, under different managers. But yeah, that's the thing with Solskjaer. The reputation he's got is that he's just counter-attacking. But I mean, there have been performances, you know, in the Champions League, Paris Saint-Germain away, there was a lot more on the front foot.
Yeah.
Even in the first half an hour last night, they couldn't carry it through against City. But the first half an hour, they pressed City, which is unusual for United. They went for it. The issue there, and probably the difference between Solskjaer and then Klopp and Guardiola, is they can drill their players every day in exactly the same style. The good thing for Solskjaer is he's mixing it up. But City just went, well, we're being pressed here, but we know what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So they give them the ball anyway, and then just kept playing through it. And probably after half an hour, United just went, it's not working, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And then they kind of just, they shrunk out of the game.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference. You need to be a top level coach to have the one style that you can drill your players in. Solskjaer's probably got a mix of different styles, but not really the master of any of them. He's doing a good job, don't get me wrong, but we're talking about the difference between Klopp and Guardiola, two of the best in the world, and then another coach who's hoping to take a great squad and repeat that. I'm not sure he'll be able to. That's the issue. It's just a tiny difference. He's doing a good job. It's not like he's top level.
I agree with you, but what I would say is that you have your style, but as the manager, you have to also be able to do adjustments in game. So when things are not working, you need to have a plan B and sometimes a plan C. And I mean, the game we just saw, it was plan A, it's not working, oh, we got beat, but we don't really adjust anything. And that's why it's sometimes difficult